there was a guy on Spotify who he had music up on Spotify.
Neil Young.
And he was Neil Young there. So you obviously know about it. So I'll just share it with people in case they don't know. Neil Young basically went to Spotify and was like, hey, Joe Rogan is putting through misinformation. It's you or me, Spotify. It's me or Joe.
Yeah.
Like, pick. Spotify's like, fuck off, Neil. We're keeping Joe Rogan because, he is literally probably the biggest media influence in the world right now, like, broadly.
Yeah.
Now, whatever, obviously, take the information that Joe provides. I believe in some of it. I don't believe in all of it, right? That you can find little clips of Joe, of, like, people absolutely hating on him, of Joe Rogan, and I'll be like, okay, fair enough. Yeah, sure, I know you can take it that way. If you listen to the whole podcast, maybe you'd have a different view of it, but whatever. But in particular, Joe had Jordan Peterson on the podcast. I don't know if you're going to listen to that one. It's a 4-hour...
Yeah, I'm not sure.
piece. I didn't enjoy it all that much. They talk about climate change a lot at the beginning, right? Okay. So they talked a lot about climate change. And I didn't know about this with Jordan, but Jordan was on a board for climate change or to support something in climate change like a lot of years ago. And he said that he'd read 200 or something books in 2 years. So he talked about it and seemed like he was very knowledgeable about it. So, and I don't disagree. He probably has a lot of knowledge. But he said something in the podcast with Joe, which was something about just prediction modeling of talking about the climate over 100 years and how the factor of error just exponentially gets worse basically as it grows along.
Chaos theory, yeah.
Post it though,
like, look, you can't even predict the weather from.
Well, here's the thing. So here's
more than 3 days out.
So this is the biggest thing. So then heaps of people came out, dude. Like heaps of people came out, and they were like, that was deplorable because weather and climate are very different things. And yes, it is true that the weather can't be predicted beyond a couple of weeks, but the climate's actually very different. And now how they define climate, I didn't look into it, nor do I give a shit to actually look into it. But there was enough people, there was so many articles about this dude that I actually went, from like prominent people, I actually went, reading all the other stuff, I was like, okay, I actually think Jordan got that wrong. I think he actually got that very wrong in some of the things that he was saying. And there was a couple of things that Jordan actually brought up. There was Jordan Peterson. The Joe actually corrected him and was like, oh, actually, I think that's wrong, Jordan. And Jordan was like, yep, cool. I totally understand it. Now, I get this feeling that people, again, listen to that Joe Rogan interview with Jordan and will pick that particular clip and whatever. Articles that got created like, oh, man, like Jordan completely said this wrong. Why would people believe this?
Joe Rogan destroys Jordan Peterson.
Stuff like that, right?
BDSM on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Now, what people probably didn't get to listen to is like a little bit after that, they were talking about something else, and Jordan called himself out and was like, in this type of conversation we're doing, I'm going to say lots of things that are wrong. That's fine. I totally get it. And he's like, I might have said some stuff that's wrong there. That's just my belief or things that I at least know. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. Cool. I'll be happy to call that out. But that withstanding, it did make me think just from like that, the whole piece of, the misinformation around, Joe and his podcast and stuff like that. At the end of the day as well, like there's got to be some ownership on you listening to what you're listening to. So I think back all the way to the No Agenda stuff that you're talking about and like the whole conversation about nuclear. Like you can have different views about something and bring it to yourself to actually disseminate it to you and be like, okay, what do I believe? And where does that land with me? I just don't think that the ownership should be that much with the creator that they have to be 100% perfect all the time. Like they don't have to be right all the time, and being completely fine with being like, okay, yep, that was wrong. Like actually what came out, and it was either with like what I knew at the time or I completely misquoted it. Like I'm not coming out and saying like this is absolute gospel. Maybe Jordan could have said it, like he did come through like it was like very, very knowledgeable on it, which again, sure he is. But it just made me think, man, just the more and more as we obviously continue our podcast journey, I'm like, I just hope that as we get bigger, please be immortalized. Please know that like sometimes, more often than not, we're probably going to say something and you're going to disagree with it, and it might be plain wrong, and it's like that's okay. That is totally okay. And I think we very rarely will ever call something out and be like, no, this is absolute truth.